quote, utterly insane and destructive, quote, an unhappy episode. The reviews are in, and even Republicans and their allies are warning about the consequences of Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill. At this hour, the Senate is in the middle of a marathon voting session, taking up amendments to the bill from members of both parties. The goal? To pass the bill later today. And rarely, if ever, have members of a political party seemed so glum on the eve of passing major legislation. With Democrats unified in their opposition to the bill, Republicans can only lose 4 votes. And right now, at least 2 GOP senators have said they will be voting no. They are Rand Paul of Kentucky and Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina. While Rand Paul's opposition to the bill is based on the fact that it would add $3.3 trillion to the national debt, that's according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, Tillis has been vocal about the nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. Cuts that would kick roughly 12 million people off of the program. That is also according to the CBO. Tillis, who was considered one of the most vulnerable Republican senators in next year's midterms, announced that he would not run for re-election and then slammed the bill on the floor of the Senate last night.
So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there? Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs.
Tillis is not alone. Trump's single biggest political benefactor in the 2024 election, Elon Musk, is resuming his attacks on the bill. On X, he said, the latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. Utterly insane and destructive. Just in the last hour, Musk put pressure on the far-right House Freedom Caucus to tank the bill. And when it comes to the voters, well, they have reservations too. Quinnipiac poll released Thursday found that just 29% of voters supported the bill, while 55% opposed it. And that is where we start today with NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, plus MSNBC columnist and author of the newsletter To the Contrary, Charlie Sykes, and NBC News political analyst and president of Brilliant Corners Research, Democratic strategist Cornell Belcher. Charlie, this bill is unpopular. You see it in poll after poll. As you know, there is no actual need to pass it at this very moment, July 4th, totally arbitrary deadline imposed by Donald Trump himself. So help me understand this, Charlie. Why are Republicans rushing to pass a bill that they know will be a political liability for them?
Well, 3 reasons. Because they're afraid of Donald Trump, they're afraid of failure, and they're afraid of Donald Trump. Look, this is what's happened to legislation in the era of Trump. It's not new that we've had these massive bills, but Donald Trump has basically made this the cornerstone of his agenda. And so they know that it's the mother of all crap sandwiches, but they have to eat it. And one of the reasons why they're so glum is that in a normal legislative process, you would be able to vote against things that you regarded as horrible ideas. But, you know, because this 900-page bill must pass in Trump world, they have to swallow everything. And they know what it's going to be like going out and trying to explain these massive cuts in health care, pushing millions of people off health care, raising taxes on various industries, picking and choosing. And the reality is that the speed with which this is being done and the lack of transparency with which this is being done also means that we're going to have a lot of surprises. We're going to find out what's in this bill afterwards. But again, Donald Trump has demanded this. And as we're seeing, and as Thom Tillis belatedly recognized, there's no room for opposition. There's no room for compromise. There's no room for independence or dissent. They all have to follow the lemmings off the cliff, because to be a Republican these days means that you have to vote for something like this. Now, of course, there might be some people who decide they're going to follow Thom Tillis. It doesn't take that many votes to derail it. But if we've learned one thing over the last 10 years is that both moderates and fiscal conservatives, despite all of their qualms, usually end up caving.
Well, to your point, Thune has 2 more votes he can afford to lose. Vaughn, help us understand the administration's thinking on this bill. Where did July 4th come from as a self-imposed deadline?
This was one that the president has staked out for months now, and you guys said it accurately and echoed exactly what Thom Tillis, the Republican senator from North Carolina, called it. It's artificial. There is nothing that says that this has to be done by Friday, yet he is putting the pressure on the House and the Senate to push this thing through and get it done. But there's a reality that is about to hit the president here. And that is, even if this does get it through the Senate, you're looking over at the House of Representatives that initially passed it 215 to 214. And one of those members of Congress, David Valadao, he's from the Central Valley of California. And folks may recall him because there are only 2 Republican members of Congress left that voted to impeach Donald Trump in the aftermath of the January 6th attack. 10 Republicans voted to impeach him. Just 2 remain. One of those individuals is David Valadao. So on policy and substance, the president and this administration must make their case to members that are representing districts that are so crucially involved in watching this unfold, but also on a human level. There's relationships that the president has burned with people like David Valadao and Lisa Murkowski, who folks will recall back in 2022, he went to Alaska and backed a primary challenger and told crowds of thousands that she was not a Republican. 3 years later, he may very well need her vote to get this through the Senate.
I think, Cornell, it is important that Vaughn points us back to the House, given that House Republicans are watching what their colleagues in the Senate are doing and asking themselves if they are willing to back whatever it is that passes through the Senate. But I want to talk just for a second about Democrats, because I think part of what we are watching today on the Senate floor is Senate Democrats really pushing to get Republicans on the record vis-a-vis a series of amendments. Talk us through that strategy, how that strategy becomes useful for them going into midterms.
Well, look, the simplest strategy, and it's usually the best strategy, is the simplest, most straightforward strategy. And going back to that Quinnipiac poll that you talked about, what you also see in that poll is, and I don't say this very often, but I think Democrats have done a pretty good job thus far of messaging around this bill, because you do have a majority of voters in the Quinnipiac poll that have heard something about this bill. And when you get even deeper, you look at where independent voters are, and a really crucial sort of middle of the road group that Republicans and Democrats both vie for, especially in swing districts. It is 65% of independent voters disapprove of this bill. So it is a hard sell going into the midterms if you're underwater with independent voters. And look, what we've seen is also in the polling, what we've seen is the Republican brand has, under Trump, they've lost some of their shine on handling the economy. They've lost some of their shine on inflation. So you go in here and Tillis, quite frankly, is the best television ad that Democrats will have going into the midterms, because he has gone out and said that this is a betrayal. And that's not in a Democratic voice, but that's in a Republican voice. And I think that adds a great deal of credibility to this argument. So I think, to a certain extent, Democrats are doing a pretty good job, which, again, I don't say very often, on messaging about this bill and making it very clear to voters across these battleground districts, but also in these states, that how many people, like 600,000 people in North Carolina, will lose their health care. When you talk about those kind of numbers and you hit people with those kind of facts, it is jarring. And I think Democrats should stay in that space. And again, I think Tillis will be the best ad that Democrats have going into the midterms.
Charlie, Tillis may be the best ad that Democrats have going into the midterm. He is also a harbinger for the Republican Party. You got a swing state senator coming out and warning his own caucus that what they are doing in this moment is going to lead to an electoral wipeout. Is it your sense that there are any Republicans who are listening? Charlie, I think you're muted, and I really want to hear what you have to say.
Oh,
Yes, I'm sorry, but it's a very, very small number. I mean, it's maybe Lisa Murkowski, maybe it's Susan Collins. The rest are lockstep because they know that if they defy Donald Trump, they're going to be primary. And the problem with American politics right now is that most of these Republican representatives, including the senators, are more worried about the primary than the general election. And so even if they may lose the general election, they don't want to be cast into outer darkness by MAGA. Now, no, I agree with Cornell that the polls, certainly would indicate that the Democrats have done a good job with marketing on all of this. But keep in mind, though, that once this is passed, the race is going to be on to define what is in it. Donald Trump still has a very big bully pulpit. He will focus on the bright, shiny objects and the goodies in all of this. And it's going to be very, very important. People should not just simply assume that this is going to be instantly unpopular because, and this may come as a shock to many of the viewers, but Donald Trump may lie about what's in the bill. Donald Trump may make stuff up. He may say that there are goodies in this bill that do not exist. He may deny that there are certain horribles in this bill that in fact are there. So this is going to be one of those fights that we ought to be prepared for in the era of Trump. And the other problem is because it's 900 pages and trillions of dollars, we can't expect that voters are really going to get their heads around everything in it. So the question is, who gets out first to define how people should think about this bill? But I agree completely. They ought to weaponize the Thom Tillis comments, because when it comes from somebody like a Republican incumbent senator saying you have been lied to, it has a lot more credibility than it does from one of the talking heads here or any Democratic representative.